Welcome everyone to MailFuzz TV. I am Peter, and today, for some reason, I'm here to talk about Arrow Season 8, Episode 10. It's the series finale of Arrow. It's called Fade Out. Spoilers, I guess, for the episode. This is a Patreon-sponsored review, so thanks, Allison. So this is so funny. So yeah, context here in case you weren't around back when these DC shows were airing, and especially when me and Connor were reviewing them, is we were kind of losing the will to live with those shows. Some more than others, but Arrow was always kind of the butt of the joke. It was pretty bad after the first couple seasons. It was never great, but it got really bad. And there was some fun making jokes at its expense, but by the time Crisis on Infinite Earths, the crossover happened at the end of 2019, I think that was the year that happened, Arrow came to an end. And we decided that Crisis on Infinite Earths would be our finale in general. We'd stop doing all the shows with that, because we just couldn't do the 5 shows every week anymore, or whatever it was at the time. And the weird way it worked out, and this is kind of on the showmakers here, is they had Arrow have its series finale after that crossover. They basically had, obviously, the big part of the crossover was Oliver Queen, and I said spoilers, so just in case, but spoilers for all that. He died. Oliver Queen died in the Crisis on Infinite Earths. And because of the way it worked out, the sort of the date where we stopped watching everything, the only episode we never actually reviewed, well, I don't know if we reviewed from the start, actually. I think we didn't start at the start of season 1, but like the only episode we didn't review at the end was the final episode. This one, Fade Out. And we didn't really care. I didn't care. I had no intention of ever watching that last episode, especially since Arrow was, out of all the shows, the one I maybe hated the most. Although The Flash was getting there, to be honest, by around that time. Stupid beard hair. One of the pitfalls of having a beard. Anyway, so I never saw this episode, and I never cared, right? I didn't care about seeing the finale. You would think that I'd be like, there's only one episode, I might as well finish. That's how little I actually cared about this show by the time we got to that point, is I did not care about just watching one more episode to wrap it up. I didn't think it would do anything interesting, and given they'd already killed off the main character, it wasn't like, it's going to be an epilogue, eulogy type episode. They'll probably go to his funeral, which they do, and whatever else they want to do, right? Maybe try and set up some stuff. I mean, the previous episode before this was also kind of a standalone episode, and I didn't remember this. It was only because I glanced at what the last episode was on IMDb, just to sort of refresh my memory somewhat. And I was like, oh yeah, it was that weird standalone episode set in the future that was meant to be like a backdoor pilot to a sequel series or a spin-off series, which never happened. And there's other things in this episode they tease that I don't think ever... I mean, it's possible they had characters show up for like guest appearances on the other shows that hadn't finished yet and sort of paid off some of the things in those. There's not much, but one or two things stick out, and I don't know if they ever did anything with them. Obviously, now in 2026, all of the shows are done. Supergirl ended, Flash ended, Legend of Tomorrow was cancelled kind of abruptly. Everything kind of did come to a close. Superman and Lois was kind of the last one, and that wasn't even that connected to all these shows. But I will tell you this, it was a trip watching this 6 years after the previous episodes, because I had forgotten like a lot, like so many things I had forgotten. Like the first like 10 minutes of this episode, I was like, oh yeah, Laurel's like a alternate like Earth version of Laurel who's a bit more of an edgy badass, because the real one died, I think. Maybe, I don't really remember. Oh, Roy's got a robot arm, I guess. I don't remember that happening. So I was just like constantly, to be fair, like I recognized a lot of the face, like everyone's face I remembered, and I was like, okay, I'm not really confused by who anyone is for the most part. Although one did make me do a double take where I had to really think about it. And what's so funny is if we had reviewed this at the time, I think one of our running jokes, or two of our running jokes actually, was making jokes about Ragman showing back up because he kind of like just left the show very quickly in a really weird way. So we kept thinking, oh, they're going to bring him back later in the season, and they never did. And then the following season, maybe they'll bring Ragman back, and it was just almost like a running gag. And he's in this finale. And when the actor showed up, I was like, who's this dude? I didn't remember his face. And then the other one we always joked about was somehow Tommy would be back. I think that's his name. The friend from season 1 who died at the end of that first season. I think we always joked, oh, it's going to be an alternate universe Tommy or something that's going to show up. And he's in this episode. As is his mother, who also died. Moira Queen's back. This was an episode where, unsurprisingly, they pull out a lot of the nostalgia beats. They wanted, like, there's flashbacks, as a lot of Arrow episodes had, but in this case it's flashbacks to like a mission that we never saw during season 1. So we see him in the season 1 outfit when he didn't quite trust Diggle yet, and they're sort of bonding over that. He's going after someone named John Byrne, so the Easter eggs continue of DC references. But okay, first things first. Obviously, no, I did not like this episode. I didn't think it was good. This was 40 minutes of remembering why I hated this show. It was inane dialogue that just spells things out. There's no nuance to anything. It's just, can we talk? Oh, dying and come back to life really made me realize how much I want you in my life. I love you. Will you marry me? Like, it's everything's so on the nose. There's not a hint of there's no layers to anything. There's no subtext. They just say things out loud in a very melodramatic way. It's so tedious to sit through. It almost felt as I was watching it, and to sort of pivot that to another dialogue thing, which is this idea of just like hollow buzzwords, where of course they say the phrase "he saved this city" a bunch, which is a callback, and in the flashback we get to hear him say "you failed this city." But other things, they keep talking about his mission. Oliver had a mission, and he died for that mission, and we shall continue his mission. No, his mission's over. He had a mission, and then Quentin's like giving a speech. Apparently he died as well. I didn't remember he died, but apparently he died. A lot of these characters are back because the Crisis reset the world and reboot it. So a lot of characters who were dead are now back. So these buzzwords, though, they're just, and it's why I remember making fun of the bloodlust. They kept talking about Thea having a bloodlust when she came out of the Lazarus pit, and I remember making fun of that. And the reason why it was so easy to make fun of is because it reminds me a lot of wrestling, bizarrely. Where in wrestling, to try and get like a new slogan over or a new catchphrase or something like that, you have to keep saying it. You have to keep using it in your promos every week, and it's almost like something you try to make a calling card. And it's a little bit hollow, but it kind of, the audience can get into it and chant it. You want that kind of thing, something you can put on a t-shirt, whatever it is. And I was thinking about it as I was watching this, about how, having not heard any of these things in 6 years, and like they say the word mission in the context of saying Oliver had a mission, and they say he saved this city so many times in this episode, I was losing my goddamn mind. It just felt like you're trying to like get these phrases over, like, we'll just go back to the little list of buzzwords we have, and that's like substituting for any actual weight in the dialogue. It's all just a bunch of hollow pandering crap. It was terrible. So I actually got a little worried that this entire episode was going to be a huge gimmick, because it starts off with like a faux documentary thing where like Moira Queen's been interviewed about who Oliver Queen was, and then it is Diggle, and it's giving you all their hero names and the captions. It's like, hey, Diggle, Spartan. I bet if you'd asked me what was John Diggle's like alias, like his superhero name, before I watched this, I would never have pulled Spartan out of my ass. Not in a million years. Right? But it's going through all these interview bits. Now, luckily, it does kind of say, all right, we're not doing that out for the whole episode. That's just like an intro to like them talking about how important Oliver is. And we'll have to act like he was the Messiah because he died for everyone. Crime in Star City is basically done because he died. His reboot wiped crime off the face of the city, which is just kind of unrealistic. Like, not all crime can go away. Every city has some crime. But whatever, right? That's the premise of the episode, and the way that the episode functions is the characters all just basically getting together for his funeral and the build up to that. But there's also like a kind of plot in the middle to try and throw in for some tension, where someone kidnaps Oliver's son, which, by the way, I did not remember he had a son. Right. I mean, his daughter from the future, which was like a big part of like the season, if I remember correctly, like she's introduced early on in this, like what's her name? Oh God. Sarah? That sounds right. Sarah Lance? Yeah. Anyway, she like goes and gets her from 2040 and brings her back for the funeral. And it's like, okay, right, okay, I vaguely remember this. And then out of nowhere, halfway through the episode, they say, someone's kidnapped Oliver Queen's son. And I'm like, son? What? I completely forgot he had an illegitimate son from like a previous thing, and like I was just like, oh yeah, this show was so convoluted, and the way that these things kept coming up, it was almost like 10 times as funny having like not watched it in years and coming back to it, having them just like bring up, oh yes, illegitimate son, Felicity's back, and I'm like, oh yeah, I guess she wasn't really a main character in the last season because she was a guest star in this episode, and everyone's happy to see her. She hasn't met her adult daughter yet, and that's like a whole thing, and she's like, oh, that's my daughter growing up, whoa, that's crazy. But yeah, I just like, as they were just casually bringing these things up, when Roy casually brings up that he died and came back to life, when we start having like evil or alternate Laurel start talking about how, why did the normal Laurel not come back in the reset? Everyone else seemed to. Why am I still here? Tommy talking about his past, and every time people started talking about things that have happened on this show, I just sort of sank further and further into my couch because it was bringing back trauma. It was like someone who had been at war in Vietnam, and then 10 years later, someone just started like flashing like memories at them. And I'm like, no, don't do this to me. And of course, when you get to the funeral at the end of the episode and everyone's standing around, you have the obvious people who show up, like the Flash and Supergirl are there, but like the Al Ghuls are there, like Nyssa and Talia are both there, and which was, I mean, I remembered who they were, but I was playing a fun little game when they showed up of which one's Nyssa and which one's Talia, because I don't remember. Like, I know those two characters from the comics. I don't remember which one was what on the show, though. So that's there. Like I said, Tommy is there, which is wild. Moira's there. I bet if they could have got I forget the actor's name, but the guy from the first season, like Moira's like boyfriend or new husband or whatever his name was, Colin Salmon, that's his actor's name. The Salmonator. That's how I remembered that. I bet if he was available, they'd have brought him back for this funeral as well. I'd be willing to bet. I could be wrong, but I'm willing to bet they maybe wanted him. So that's like the main thrust of the episode. Is building up to the funeral, everyone meeting each other and like reminiscing and talking about all their happy memories in the Arrow bunker, or the Arrow Cave, or whatever stupid thing they called that place. And the flashbacks, which is basically Oliver still on a killing spree and Diggle try to convince him that he shouldn't be killing everyone. Maybe some of them should just go to prison. And that's how you still get some, season 1 nostalgia of him in the season 1 outfit. You get him, we get an action sequence during this, because there's not really a lot of action elsewhere in the episode, but they have a one-hour, so it's like they like to do one last impressive action scene for, network TV standards. And you see him like grapple up and all that. He goes through like a greatest hits of action, basically, and it's fine for what it is. Like, there's nothing wrong with the action per se, other than just he seems like excessively bulletproof at one point, I thought. But other than that, it's perfectly fine for TV action. But honestly, not much to that, to be honest, other than him just coming back and saying, oh yeah, I didn't kill him, so I guess we're kind of starting to become friends, and that's kind of the flashbacks. I don't really have much more to add. The only other thing about these, though, is that the guy he was after, John Byrne, named after the comic book writer / artist, is that he is the guy in present day who has kidnapped his illegitimate son. So, this is like, oh, this is our... And, Diggle, again, he stands up. This is our most important mission. Oliver sacrificed himself. He made the ultimate sacrifice to protect all of us, so we have to protect his family, blah, 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 blah. Oh, dear. And, they keep like talking about, oh, Felicity might not show up to the funeral. She might not be here. She might not, blah, 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 blah. And then she just walks in, like, halfway through the episode, and it's not even, like, a huge moment. At least it didn't feel like a huge moment. It felt like the most dull way to possibly have her enter the episode was just have her show up after teasing that she's so distraught that she's not even looking after her kid. The nanny's looking after the kid while she's just kind of cooped up in some sort of emotional coma. But she just shows up and it's whatever. I mean, what else do I even say? I mean, all the one-on-ones, all the heartfelt moments, like all this stuff has happened, and of course Roy with his bionic arm is like, oh, Thea's here. I've not seen her since I walked out on her. I don't remember that, of course, but he goes over and he's like, hey, can we talk? And she's like, my illegitimate nephew has been kidnapped. This is not a good time. But then when they're on patrol, and of course Roy's doing some unnecessary flips because he always did unnecessary flips. He stops and says, hey, can we talk? And she's like, well, we already talked. And he's like, no. When, after I left you, like dying and coming back to life really made me reassess everything in my life, including you. I want you around forever. Will you marry me? And I was just rolling my eyes. It's just out of nowhere in the finale. They want to have two characters who used to be together, like get back together, commitment levels kind of thing. They like we want to say no, they're going to be together forever, and they don't even tell anyone. No one even finds out they're technically engaged, which she doesn't agree to immediately. She agrees to that the next time they talk inside the mansion. And it's whatever. It's not really. Again, it's so unengaging the way the story plays out. He basically just says all this, even though they've not been a thing for a while. And she's like, as long as you promise me to not abandon me and actually tell me what you're going through. And he's like, yeah, I can promise that. And she's like, well, yes then. Oh, we're engaged. Oh, there you go. That was easy. All right, that's that done. So there's that. There's Wild Dog is going to run for mayor, which, okay. That feels a bit random to me. I don't know. I don't remember if that was... I mean, I think he was working for Quentin when Quentin was mayor. Back when, in the rest of the season or the previous season or whatever. So maybe, I guess, it's kind of set up, but he also feels maybe a little on the young side to be the mayor of a major city. Maybe it doesn't matter that much, but I always kind of picture someone that is maybe more Quentin's age or older even, so... I don't know. That just kind of felt like, we want to give everyone some sort of happy ending to go off on. Dinah, not Laurel, who's supposed to be Dinah, but Dinah Drake, she is currently the captain of the police, but she's going to turn down a promotion and go to some other city that actually has crime to fight. So, yeah, it kind of treats Dinah, Wild Dog, and Diggle as the three kind of the main characters, almost. And I wonder if that's because they were technically the ones that were still full-time Arrow team members in the last season, whereas, everyone else had kind of left and came back for a guest spot or two. Because Mr. Terrific is here, although I swear he doesn't even get a line of dialogue. He's just sitting at the computer at one point once the kid's been kidnapped, and then he's standing there, I think, during the funeral scene, although, to be honest, I don't know if I even remember seeing him there. But he is there. Maybe he had a scene that was cut or something, because it feels like he's the only person that doesn't get a line, because even Ragman gets a conversation with Wild Dog about what he's been up to since he left. But that's kind of it. It feels like such a nothing episode where there's really nothing for them to do, and the attempt to put in like a thrilling plot in the middle with a kidnapped kid, one, it gets wrapped up super quick, but all it really amounts to is a couple of different one-on-one scenes of different pairs of characters looking for the kid in different spots of the city. And that's it. And then, Mia, the daughter from the future, finds him and chooses not to kill the bad guy and says, no, Oliver didn't kill you, I won't either, you're going back to prison. And that's kind of it. It's so paper thin. The emotional stuff between the characters is paper thin, and all of the attempts at actually trying to give this episode some sort of action plot are also paper thin. The flashbacks were more than enough. They did not need to try and do some sort of plot in the middle. I guess they wanted to have a reason for everyone to rally around and for Felicity to, come out of the woodwork and actually start helping again. But ultimately, it never really felt... It felt like a weird pivot in the middle, because as soon as it's over, everything's fine. The illegitimate son's bonding with his big sister, or his younger sister technically, but but she's older here, and she's showing him the cool bow that she's got, and that's about it. Yeah, and then it's the funeral. There's like a vigil where they reveal an Arrow statue, because of course, one of the things this show was guilty of repeatedly through its entire run was just doing really crap versions of stuff that were in the Nolan Batman movies, right? That was something that happened repeatedly. We called it out almost every season. There's, here's something else they've taken from the Nolan Batman movies, but just doing it much worse. So I couldn't help but think of Dark Knight Rises when the statue's unveiled. But it's whatever. It's I don't know really what I would have expected from this beyond just a giant epilogue where everyone talks about how great Oliver Queen was. And I guess part of that's hard to take because I don't think he was ever really that great. He never really felt like a great hero to me in terms of the traditional hero sense. And frankly, all of the character relationships through this entire show, even during the first couple of seasons, which most people who like the show think they're the great seasons, it was always just a light, like, turn off your brain show, even at its best. And then it got mind-numbingly bad after that. And this finale does not do anything to change that. It doesn't have some poignant thing to say at the end. It's ending on the lukewarm, damp squib that it always was. And it's just it's a nothing burger of an episode. Nothing of value is here. It's just a giant waste of 40 minutes. Which is a reminder of the giant waste of the previous 8 seasons that were endured. But they do the fan service bit at the end where, as Diggle's moving away with his wife, a meteor seemingly crash lands in front of him, and when he goes over to check what was in it, there's like a little box, and he opens it, and a glowing green light hits his face, which of course is them basically just giving fan service to all the theories that he would turn out to somehow be John Stewart, because he looks kind of like John Stewart from the comics, which is one of the Green Lantern characters. So they thought, oh, can he just become a Green Lantern? And this was kind of them nodding to that. I don't think they ever paid this off anywhere in, like, Legends of Tomorrow, or maybe showing up as a guest spot in one of the other shows. But yeah, I don't know if they had plans to do anything with it, or if it was just like a little tip of the hat and nothing more. But I don't know, it's hard not to feel cynical through a lot of this, to be honest. I didn't get much out of it, and not that I was expecting to. The episode ends with going back to 2040, and the Monitor, who was a whole big part of the Crisis, and he'd been popping up through the season, from what I recall, basically takes Felicity in 2040, which it's funny because effectively she chooses to die. She chooses to go and spend go to the afterlife where Oliver is. He takes her to the afterlife where Oliver Queen's waiting, and they hold each other in the office where he first saw her, even though she didn't know he saw her there. And the closing shot is the Queen Industries building, or Queen Consolidated, or whatever it's called, which I thought was weird because it felt like it was pulling out, like it wanted to. It was almost like it wanted to do. Speaking of taking from movies, it felt like it wanted to do the shot from the end of Avengers where it pulls back and the giant queue for Queens on the building. But, like, I don't know, the company was never really that, like, it's not really been a factor in a long ass time in the show. It didn't really feel like it means anything emotionally, or is that important to, like, the Green Arrow part of the story, which is kind of what the whole thing is. But regardless, my bigger thing with this, right, they want to give this happy ending where they're together in the afterlife. That's fine. It's the timing of this that felt really weird to me, is that it's 2040, right? And even when this aired, right, which I think technically was actually January 2020, but they keep saying 2019 throughout the episode, so we'll just say it's still 2019. 21 years later, which makes sense for Mia's age, because she's like, a toddler at best, right? And she's now like 22, 23, whatever she is, in 2040. It feels actually really quick for Felicity to be like, I'm throwing in the towel to go and spend the afterlife, like, for eternity with Oliver Queen. Like, she's leaving her daughter when she's only just, like, I get that she's an adult, but, it still feels a bit weird to be like, hey, you've hit your 20s, I'm just going to peace out, you don't need me anymore. I'm like, I don't know, like, people, like, people have healthy relationships with their parents, like, way beyond their 20s. If you're lucky enough, you may have a relationship with your parents all the way into your 50s. It feels really weird to just, like, peace out, especially since everything from what I vaguely remember is that she's kind of struggling to be the new Green Arrow and, like, the other future stuff we saw, and she even kind of says something like that, like, oh, I don't know if I'm as good a hero as he was, blah blah. It sounds like maybe some advice from someone who's not only just her mother, but someone who was around in all this vigilante stuff back in the day might actually be helpful. It feels oddly kind of selfish to be like, I'm ditching you, daughter, I'm going to go and just be with my dead husband. I don't know, that just felt a bit weird to me. 21 years doesn't feel what it used to, frankly. You know, like, time accelerates so much. I mean, the fact that we're in 2026, you know, like, it's not, it feels like we're a stone's throw away from the 2030s, right? We're not that far away from it. And once we're at the 2030s, we're only 10 years away from this walking into the portal to go into the afterlife. It just, I don't know. I just, it feels so kind of weird and hollow to me, and just like, there should have been 2060, maybe, where she's clearly a lot older, and it's like, okay, I've done everything I can for my daughter. It's time to kind of like peace out. But I don't know. It just very, very strange. The opening title used like 5 different arrowheads, probably all the different ones they've had in the opening titles over the years, as the style of it's changed a little bit, I'm assuming. But yeah. Yeah, very, very, very weird. I mean, and if anything, this was like arguably more entertaining because I hadn't watched the show in 6 years, because there was so much of like, oh shit, yeah, this happened to that character, and oh yeah, who's this? Oh yeah, like he died and came back to life, or this relationship ended that way, or oh yeah, this is an alternate universe version of this character. Like, all that stuff arguably at least made the first 10 minutes more entertaining, because I was like, just kind of like, it was all like hitting me again. I'm like, oh shit, yeah, all this crap happened, and I had gladly forgotten it, might I add. So yeah, that's something. But yeah. It didn't last though. There was a moment about 18 minutes in where I thought, because of the way it was wrapping up the kidnapping plot, it felt like we were about to wrap that up. I was like, oh, we must be near the end of the episode. And I checked, and I was only 18 minutes in. And I died a little bit in the inside, because I thought, man, this is a long 40 minutes. It's really taking its time, because nothing interesting happens the entire goddamn episode. All right. I think I'm done. Well, what else can I say? Honestly, like, what am I supposed to do? Analyze like the characters and where they end up. I mean, I don't think there's much more to say about any of them. There's no depth to any of it, so none of it matters. It's literally just a checklist of, okay, we're going to say where this character ends up, where this character ends up, these two get together, this character moves, this character gets this job. It's just a checklist, and there's no weight behind any of it. It's garbage. This show was garbage for a long time. This finale is also garbage. Let me know what you thought of the finale of Arrow in the comments. If you like, you can like, subscribe, all that stuff helps out a bunch, and you can support everything over at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV and help keep everything coming. Also check out MailFuzz Movies for all the movie podcasts. But yeah, Arrow was a shit show, and most of the other shows ended up quite shit as well, to be fair. But Arrow was kind of the poster boy for being the first one. So congratulations. Keep watching TV. Have you got any vanilla?